Welcome to MediaShift's Digital Media Brief, brought to you by NextSpace and NextKids Co-working and Childcare in San Francisco. I'm Mark Glaser with guests Ben Elgin from Bloomberg Businessweek and Lisa Kerr from Digital Content Next. A recent cover story on Bloomberg Businessweek showed a growing industry of ad fraud online, with publishers buying traffic generated by bots and advertisers paying to reach a largely non-human audience. The Association of National Advertisers found in a study last year that 11% of internet traffic and 25% of video traffic is bots. But Digital Content Next found that top publishers only had 2.8% of traffic as bots, compared to 11% elsewhere. Ben, tell us how a typical traffic scam, kind of fake traffic scam, plays out online.
So basically what it is, I think what it all kind of stems from is this sort of desire to have cheap traffic coming to your site. Lots of viewers and paying not so much money for that. And so, more expensive ways to buy traffic would be like a content discovery network like an Outbrain, or even more expensive than that, search ads and whatnot. But the real cheap stuff, you can go onto Google, type in, bulk web traffic or cheap web traffic or whatever, and the going rate for a big chunk of visitors is 1/10 of a penny per visitor. It's very cheap. And you can sell, particularly if you're, say, selling video ads, you can get 10 times that much for each ad impression, right? So these cheap viewers tend to be very lucrative for publishers. And as the White Ops reports from late last year pointed out, that this purchased traffic tends to be quite body, and I think the rule of thumb is the cheaper, the more likely it is to be fake.
And how much of the problem do you think is kind of a lack of transparency when it comes to these kind of traffic brokers and ad networks and middlemen?
Yeah, I think that's the heart of the problem, really. And that's one of the things that White Ops was really stressing. They said, look, advertisers, you have to demand to know where A, does the publisher buy traffic, and B, if so, where does it come from, and you get a detailed sort of list of the traffic sources. I think that's just like step one for solving all of this, is this transparency and demanding that transparency. So it's pretty interesting. Sometimes if you look at, there's some neat web tools out there. You can, a tool like SimilarWeb, you can essentially take a publisher's site and plug that in, and it'll tell you the top 5 sources of referral traffic to a website, and I think Quantcast has a similar kind of tool. And so anyway, you can start to see, normal traffic patterns versus suspect traffic patterns. Normal sites will get a lot of traffic from Google, Facebook, Amazon, all that kind of stuff. And then, we ran into some publishers where it wasn't that. They were getting, the bulk of their traffic from sites you'd never heard of that actually don't really have anything, like this one called omniling.com was sending a bunch of traffic around a couple months ago. And so that should be just a huge red flag. And I think, advertisers are going to begin to demand more of this transparency, and there's tools out there to essentially help people see these red flags if they take the time to look for them.
So what can publishers do to avoid fake traffic and bots?
Well, the publishers, the 32 companies who participated in our study, what we found was that White Ops did a great job of correlating specific business practices with the lower incidences of bot fraud. And when it came to sourcing traffic, the majority of the members who participated in this strictly vetted who their partners were. As Ben alluded to, not every source of traffic is, is a criminal or an illegitimate enterprise. There are sources of traffic out there that are legitimate, and our members, that's where they gravitate to, is the cleaner human sources of traffic. Beyond that, I think measurement, optimizing, monitoring what's happening on the site on an ongoing basis, making sure that you've got a verification partner in place to be able to validate human impression levels, understanding how bots behave on your site. There are some fascinating case studies in the research that we did around how bots behave differently in different publishers' environments. So they don't behave automatically the same across every publisher. So really digging into and understanding what's happening on your site is an important action that publishers need to take on an ongoing basis.
Thanks for joining us for a Digital Media Brief from MediaShift, brought to you by NextSpace and NextKids. Learn more about their pioneering program combining co-working and childcare at nextspace.us/nextkids. We'll catch you next week.